Congratulations, you're unemployed. What? You don't think that's a good thing? How can I slather lipstick on this pig? Well, buddy, have I got a story for you. I am, for the first time in more than 2 decades, and over 10 and a half years in the same company, unemployed. And for the first time in my life, I'm laid off. Walk with me down memory lane, if you would. About 20 years ago, I worked for a company, and the owner of that company told me that anyone could be replaced, and that I, in no uncertain terms, was replaceable. Of course, it is absolutely true. All of us are almost certainly doing things that could be done by someone else, no matter how capable we are. If you don't own it, it's not yours, no matter how hard you work. That's not even a bad thing intellectually. If a tragedy occurs, it's good that someone else can step in and fill an essential role. But, oh man, please don't make that an explicit statement about someone's employment. If you want them to feel valued, important, and inspired to give their all, maybe don't say it. It's a funny thing about working for someone else. It's sold to us as though it's the safe option. Starting a business is risky. You have to find prospective customers. You have to keep clients happy. You have to make sure you have products. Make sure your products have sales. Make sure your customer service treats your customers like royalty to make sure they keep coming back to you. All of these entail difficulties, and each of them requires their own set of skills and capabilities. And initially, the entrepreneur wears every hat. Eventually, if you have any success, you may be able to hire some people and take on some of those positions. But the entrepreneur is always left doing the most difficult jobs, the hardest challenges, the things that they either can't afford to hire someone to do, or there's literally no one else who can do it. And 50% of businesses fail within the first year. 90% of businesses fail within 5 years. Starting, owning, running a business is tough and requires Herculean effort for limited possibility of a real payout. The best that most of us can hope for is a new kind of job that has even longer hours, and there's no such thing as vacation. Everywhere, risk. It's only crazy people who start this, and only the lucky ones who find any success at it. Right? Because 50%, 90% failure rates, that sounds pretty damn awful. You know what? Just go to college, get a job, draw a regular paycheck, and let those crazy lucky schmucks deal with all that nonsense. But nobody talks about the pink slips, the layoffs, the downsizing, the reduction in force, the separations when they do that math about risk, do they? There were, for me, some signposts along the way. Napoleon Hill spoke about goals and determination. Earl Nightingale told me that I'd become what I think about. Zig Ziglar preached that if I can dream it, I can achieve it. Tony Robbins encouraged me to create a map, take action. Ali Abdaal showed me how to be productive. Cody Sanchez got my ass out of bed at 5:45 a.m. Dan Coe said that I am the niche. Actually, he said I am the niche, but I like to say niche. Sorry, Dan. I'm not sure that I can count how many people have been present to try, completely unbeknownst to them, to change the trajectory of my life for the better. Over the years, the last company where I worked told me over and over that my performance didn't matter. Not really. My output didn't matter. How I communicated, how I treated and uplifted other people, all didn't matter. What mattered were things that I cannot change. In the end, though, it was the money that signaled the end. They spent more than they made, and they had to pull the plug on what we worked on, and on most of us who worked on it. Before the end, I knew there were companies out there, other ones, but I was depressed and dejected and afraid that to replace my income, I'd have to go find someplace looking for someone different than me and convince them that I want the best for everyone except myself. I wanted to create my own thing, but I thought I couldn't. I had no ideas, no plan, no hope. So, when the last job gave me my walking papers, the last part of me shut down. I didn't have the drive to update my resume, to hunt for something new, to write, to create, to make the bed, to get enough sleep, to eat well, to take care of myself. Who was I if I wasn't providing for my family? And how could I go back to being in a job that made me feel unnecessary, unwanted, a living impediment to the company's success metrics simply by existing? I had stayed where I was out of complacency and fear. But I reached the end of my road. I would like to call it a crossroad, but it was a trek that ended in a wilderness. I could walk backward, reverse my stride, and hike back along that same rocky track that had worn me down and brought me here, to nowhere. So, I entered the wilderness without a machete. I narrowed myself down to 3 options, and I decided to go for the one that made me least comfortable. Imagine life on a merchant ship. You could be a deckhand, coiling rope, hoisting sails, swabbing the deck, placing the entirety of your future and well-being in the hands of the captain, and trusting him to keep you and the other sailors safe and paid, and with your 3 squares and your tot of rum each day. You do your job, he deals with all the risk. Or you could be the captain, acquire the ship, negotiate the contracts for cargo and passage, plot the ports of call, make sure your crew are well-trained, efficient, productive, and when the storm comes, rally them to the greatest effort, guide them and your ship through the journeys and the adventures and the riches. You can hope that another will steer you right. Your own vision limited to just the task between your hands. Or you can helm the ship yourself. Look out to the horizon at what is to come and to anticipate what is beyond it. One of those is definitely harder, but both entail risk. That's the dirty little secret. For my part, I'm now a captain without a ship. Well, within my sailing metaphor, I captain a one-man dinghy, a rowboat with just a few supplies tucked away and no land in sight. But now, I'm up at 5 or 6 in the morning, no alarm clock, and in a 100-year-old house in New Hampshire in midwinter, getting out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning is no joke. For the first draft of the script that I wrote for this video, I was wearing a wool beanie and a flannel inside on a dark February morning, the pre-dawn lighting the horizon beautifully, and I'm trying to see beyond it. I haven't been this excited, this exhilarated, this terrified, this alive in ages. What am I doing now? Well, you're looking at it, at least in part, and I'm happy. So let me ask, what's it going to be for you? Do you want to hope? Or do you want to helm?